Okay. Hi, I'm Julie Lambert. Welcome to another night of the People's Forum. Today is August 19th. We will be meeting tonight, Monday, and the next 2 Mondays in lieu of the City Council meetings because unfortunately the City Council and the Commissioners are on vacation. However, we are not on vacation and this is our city. So if you have something to say, we invite you to come down and express your opinion. We will also give updates on KEPW 97.3 FM, and after we are done today, this will be uploaded so that you can share it with your friends. Please come and join us. We would love to hear what you have to say. And next is...
Hello, my name is Antonio Gisbert. I'm with ESSN out of Springfield. I have 2 quick announcements. Number 1 is that Saturday 24th, ESSN is having its annual meeting at 688 Charlottetown. So please keep an eye on that on social media and attend to help move progressive Eugene and Springfield forward. Second announcement is that we are gaining momentum on our Oregon People's Rebate campaign. We just collected our first labor endorsement the other day, which is awesome. So I want to thank the fellow workers at the IWW here for endorsing our campaign. Thank you. Also announce the fact that we'll be collecting signatures in Saturday Market and also at Bellini Stock, which is 2019. This year it's in Albany. It's a big Bellini event. It is September 8th in Albany, Oregon, 11 to 7 p.m.
What's the name of the link?
The link of the for the Oregon People's Rebate, it is opr2020.org. We are also in Facebook, and Bellini Stock is just one word. Google it, you'll find it. Thank you. Sorry, I forgot to mention that this Thursday, there's going to be an action in support of Penn Fed workers. There's about 120 of them who are in danger of losing their jobs. And so please join us this Thursday. We'll gather across the street from the Penn Fed office at 11:15 a.m. To be in solidarity and support of the fellow workers at Penn Fed. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nikki Miller. I came to Eugene, Oregon roughly around 2011 or 2012. I was homeless for 4 years working with a dog. And so the shelter didn't work for me because I had a dog. And when I finally gave up my dog and wound up in the Eugene mission, I felt like an inmate, not a homeless person. So after many years and recovering and feeling a lot better these days, I want to help. And one of the biggest ways that I think we can help is by, in addition to whatever big shelter gets created, what we need are small, scattered shelters, houses, fix up old houses all over the city. And if we have to sue the city of Eugene to do it, I want to raise money for lawyers. I want a class action lawsuit against the city of Eugene. I think they have twiddled their thumbs on this long enough, and I'm really tired of watching people die. So.
Hello, my name is Martha Bryson. I am a 64-year-old woman who got housed after 2 years of homelessness or living in substandard housing in an RV with no heat and no running water. I got housed a week ago. And my concerns that I want to share with you today is about the $50 million housing bond that is going to receive public testimony tomorrow at 9 a.m. at the Lane County Commissioners Court, and also at 7 p.m. tomorrow night. I've been very disturbed on reading on Facebook pages about homeless issues where folks are speaking out against the housing bond proposal because they're afraid the money will be squandered, it will line the pockets of developers, that it won't build housing, near enough housing, and the housing won't be cheap enough. And I'm going to say that as a housing activist for 30 years, I will say that we need the housing bond desperately, but it's our civic duty to then make sure that the money is spent wisely on as many housing projects as possible. And what I'm talking about is we are at a crisis in Lane County, and we need all kinds of housing developed. We need existing city and county and state buildings that are vacant to be rehabbed and repurposed for all kinds of housing, because not everybody can live in an apartment house, not everyone can live in a Conestoga hut, not everyone can live in a tiny house. And we can't afford to have any more housing projects built with taxpayer funds where the net's going to be 54 new units in North Eugene, and the rent's going to start at $500, but the cost per unit is $250,000 to build. That is not a good use of public funds. So I'm telling you that if you have problems with how the money will be spent, then step up and let's make sure it's spent wisely on lots of different kinds of income-based affordable housing. Not affordable housing that's affordable for someone who makes $50,000 a year. We need income-based affordable housing. And let me just tell you, if you use the phrase low-income housing, oftentimes that's tax credit properties that are priced below the regular rental market, but still not affordable for someone who lives on Social Security. So, income-based affordable housing must be what we insist upon. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Charlie Swanson. I'm with Healthcare for All Oregon Action, and I'm here today to talk about Senate Bill 770 and the task force that's going to be created because of that bill. Our own Senator James Manning was a champion of that bill, and it's going to create a task force that will give legislative recommendations on how we can move to a universal single-payer system in Oregon. On that task force right now, there's going to be 13 members appointed by the governor. We already know that there are a couple of appointees from the House of Representatives. One of them is Representative Marty Wilde from Lane County. Another is Cedric Hayden, who also represents a portion of Lane County. One of the things that we need to be aware of is that we need to keep an eye on this task force and make sure that they actually move us in the right direction towards a single-payer system in Oregon. On September 29th in Eugene at the Unitarian Universalist Church, we're going to have an advocacy training for people, and we're going to explain what Senate Bill 770 does and some of the reasoning behind it, especially not just the importance of a single payer system, but the importance of a single risk pool in Oregon. So every resident of Oregon is in the same single risk pool. We're also going to explain why we need to keep track of provider payment methods. There's good research, comparative research with other countries that suggests that you can save a lot of money with in hospital administrative cost if you do it correctly. The same is true in provider offices cost if you pay providers correctly. Among the ways that tend to not work for a variety of reasons is what is often called pay for performance or pay for quality, which actually fights against the natural, inherent, intrinsic motivation that almost everybody has when they go into a healthcare profession. And so we will be speaking to some of these things and explaining to people about how you can better advocate to make sure good things happen with this task force. Thank you.
My name is Todd Boyle, and I came to talk again about the housing situation. There's 36,000 people in Eugene living on less than $1,000 a month, and there's a third of the city is living on less than $2,000 a month. And this has gone on for quite a long time and created quite a large displacement phenomenon, because the city maintains a tight urban growth boundary, of course, and then it maintains its infamous anti-housing ordinances to make it impossible to build anything cheaply inside of the city. So as a result, the cost of houses and the rents continue to go up, and this is the embodiment of Eugene's policy, and it's been going on for a long time. So it not only creates visible homeless, but it also creates a ton of stress among the human population. So this brings me to the reason why I care about this. I have a house, but I want to live in a city that's fulfilling its evolutionary role, or its purpose for human society, and that is that everybody should be able to grow and be able to move through their stages of development and understanding and love and spiritual attainment and all this good stuff. And when you've got a third of the population under economic stress, they're not able to do that, but instead it manifests in more and more stress, mental illness, hostility, artificially caused competitiveness, destructive competitiveness in market dealings and in labor relations and all sorts of things. And all this can be avoided if our city will have a policy that embodies the actual purpose of a city, which is to have a congenial population that's well cared for and that they can develop in whatever their natural way. And they have to be reasonably close to downtown, not way out on a reservation somewhere or in a housing tract out there in the country. But that is not the reason why people congregate downtown, is for our human growth and development. So tomorrow there's going to be the first hearing of the not hearing I should say, but the first public discussion, of the $50 million housing bond. This is the first instance of the Measure 102 that we passed in 2018, right? That allows housing bonds to be issued for private development. And so, in all of our discussions in recent days, I just wanted to close with one observation, and that is that there's been some conflict, unnecessary conflict between different, let's say, factions in the housing and homelessness advocacy community. And the most important and largest faction is the homeless advocates, because the homeless are so much more visible. They're on the news every night, and we've had the TAC report and all this stuff. This bond could be addressed to provide the hundreds of units of permanent supported housing, for example, or it could be used to fund the TAC report requirements. That'd be an example. I happen to be more concerned about the broader economic problem, not of the 3,000 homeless, but more than 30,000 people undergoing a conveyor belt of displacement. And so I realized during these arguments that we were arguing for different things. Really, it was kind of like a classic resource competition, for budget. And so everyone who listens shouldn't jump to the conclusion that we're in disarray or that we don't agree with each other. We just are working on different particular silos or aspects of the problem, and that's something that there is actually a lot more solidarity than it appears. Thank you.
Yeah, hi, I'm Chris Bellini, and I've been living in Eugene since 2010. I'm not able to work because of various health conditions that I have. Probably one of the biggest barriers that I have is a sensitivity to petrochemicals, especially in the form of fragrances or anything that off-gasses for a long time, like new carpeting, cleaning products. I have to put air freshener in quotation marks because it doesn't freshen anything. It's toxic in the air. And one of the things that I've been not really able to work on as much as I would like to, just because of my own barriers, but I would like to work on more, is to get service providers in the community to provide places that are free of petrochemical substances, or at least as minimized as possible. Because as I was just talking to someone else about, not only is it an issue of accessibility for somebody like me and others who have sensitivities, it's also a matter of public health, because these substances are both endocrine disrupting and neurotoxic. So anyone with an endocrine system, anyone with, with a body is going to be affected by these issues. Okay, thank you.
It affects everyone.
Sure. My name's Colin. Sorry I'm late. I wanted to review some recent events that are being underreported in the media and being ignored by Merkley, Wyden, and DeFazio. Starting August 2nd, the U.S. formally withdraws from the INF Treaty, initiates another arms race with Russia and China. August 5th, the White House issues an executive order, essentially a total blockade and embargo of Venezuela. This executive order places secondary sanctions on countries who do business with Venezuela, like Russia and China, who will absolutely ignore the orders from the USA. August 7th, the U.S. seizes 25,000 tons of soy patties shipped to Venezuela. So at the same time that we are stealing protein from poor people, we're escalating tensions with nuclear superpowers. August 8th, Venezuela joins Iran and Russia in joint military exercises in Russia. So regarding these sanctions, even the European Union, who has participated in the sanctions, and some of the opposition within Venezuela who are trying to overthrow the government, oppose this level of blockade, embargo, and sanctions, pointing out that it will cause a famine within the next 12 months and possibly kill hundreds of thousands of people. But good luck finding criticism from Merkley, Wyden, and DeFazio. Merkley, who sits on the Senate Committee of Foreign Relations, has a statement that says, it's online, I'm sort of paraphrasing, it says, "The U.S. must use economic pressure to hasten the day Maduro leaves power." And now I'll read a quote from a UN expert on sanctions and international law, which says, "Coercion, whether military or economic, must never be used to seek a change in government. The use of sanctions by outside powers to overthrow an elected government is in violation of all norms of international law." So Merkley is supporting a regime change using illegal sanctions. But Senator Merkley does sponsor a bill which prevents Trump from going to war with Venezuela without congressional authorization. The White House all year has been threatening Venezuela with all options are on the table type talk. So this is a good bill, but it doesn't stop us from going to war. It only means we need Congress to approve it first. But this is a Congress who 70% of them voted for the Iraq War, and 75% of them just signed a letter to Trump urging him to remain militarily engaged in Syria. Both Merkley and Wyden signed this letter. So I think we need to demand Merkley, Wyden, and DeFazio stop these sanctions and ask that everyone consider these things when they're voting in 2020. Both Merkley and DeFazio are up for re-election. But remember, Republicans are worse on this issue. That's it. Wow. Thank you.